What's good, everybody? It's your boy Toxie Boyo, bringing you a very timely, very you know, what's the word? What's the word for when you're right on a punctual? Yep, a very punctual review of Project Hail Mary by Lord and Miller, starring Ryan Gosling, adapted from Andy Weir's novel. Now, right off the bat, I'm gonna say I didn't get a chance to read. Well, I'm not gonna say I didn't get a chance to read this book. I just haven't. I started listening to it because I look. Sue me if you want to. I'm an audiobook kind of guy. The primary reason for that is because I'm out of shelf space, and I don't want to buy another shelf just to fill it with books, because then that's more shelves that I have to move. And so I'm someone that moves a lot as well. I move about every year and a half, it seems like. And I'm probably looking at moving here again in the next couple of months. And so I don't like having to carry a big box of books. That's just how things are for me. But all of that out of the way, I started listening to it. I didn't get very far because I wanted to get through Dune Messiah before the movie got confirmed. That way, by the time there was a trailer, I could know what was going on. Accomplished that. Did not love Dune Messiah, if you were curious as to my 4-word review on that book. Anyway, you may recognize Andy Weir as the mind behind the novel known as The Martian, which you may recognize as a movie that released in 2015 starring Matt Damon. I personally love that movie, so I'm going to be comparing this to that a little bit, just because these are the only two things that I really know Andy Weir for, right? I will say, right off the bat, 2 minutes into this review, right off the bat, I will say, it feels like Andy might be a little bit of a one-trick pony. I don't know. I don't want to say that that's because that's reductive of any artist. I would hate if somebody called my writing one-trick. But I will say that he definitely has themes that he really enjoys. A man in outer space and an unfamiliar environment, mostly on his own, relying on what he knows and what he learns to survive and to go forward. But this one's a little different because this is what I like to call hope slop. I think it's funny to just put slop at the end of anything and just be like, yeah, we're just gonna make it derivative. That's what it is. This movie's hope slop. It's hope core. It's hope pilled. It's hope. It's whatever. The basic gist is that there is a malicious sort of bacteria that has been found that is basically leeching the sun. It's they're worried that it's going to extinguish the sun's light and cool the earth and plunge humanity into extinction. And so they round up a scientist and a couple of other people to figure out what we can do about that. Long story short, our best shot at survival is to send a 3-man team out into deep space and figure out what it is about one particular sun that is not being extinguished. What is it that's special about that one that is keeping what they call astrophage from eating it? And hopefully take what you can learn from that and use it to save the Earth. He encounters a scientist from another planet named Rocky, or that he calls Rocky. And on the topic of Rocky, I understand philosophically and psychologically why we love little cute guys in movies. I get why Grogu's so popular. I get why people like Porgs. I understand these little merchandising opportunities. And ordinarily I'm someone that's like, man, if this works on you, you're a freaking subhuman freak. But this is the most effective that's ever been on me. I love Rocky, and I think it's different in this situation because he is just as competent as our main character, if not more so. He's not just there to be cute, and he's not also just he doesn't just bail out the main guy when he gets in trouble like Grogu does for the Mandalorian. They work together, they're a team, they figure things out with each other's help. They actually complement each other in a way that feels organic, and the friendship that they build by having a shared mission, coming from similar backgrounds, and just, they have so much in common, but just enough to set them apart that it makes every conversation between the two of them very interesting. And I actually really like that. It's funny because like the last movie, was that the last movie? Because there were some that I wanted to go see, but I just didn't make time for it. Like I wanted to see Sudden Help and stuff like that. But I think that the last movie that I went to go see was Iron Lung. At least that's the last one that I reviewed here on the channel. And thematically, there's a lot of similarities between these movies. You know, you have a one-man mission that's basically a suicide mission, to, you know, search the depths and see what you can learn to try to save humanity, because the stars went out, or they're going out. Very similar in premise, but one's a horror movie, one is a sci-fi adventure. And I quite like both of them in like the different things that they try to do. Comparing Project Hail Mary to The Martian, I will say, as far as science fiction, because that as a genre casts such a huge net, so many different things can be considered science fiction. You have Dune, you have Star Trek, you have something like The Martian or Interstellar. I feel like we should probably divide that a little bit better, because like, yeah, we have science fantasy, but that's not what Star Trek is, right? But it's also not the same type of science fiction that something like The Martian, Interstellar is. Like, these are things that are based in real research, that like, this is a hypothetical story that could take place within the confines of our universe based on what we know. That's very different from something like Dune, where you do drugs to turn into a supercomputer and you navigate outer space like that. And I mean, maybe in 8,000 years that will be what it's like. But like, speaking strictly of science fiction and the research that goes into making a movie like this, I do feel as though the science on display in The Martian was a bit more sound than it was here. Because astrophysics is something that I'm like, that's my thing. That's like the branch of science that I'm the most fascinated with, always have been. I love listening to Star Talk, I love watching Nova, all that stuff. So like, this was the one that I was like, okay, this one's for me. You know, this is the one where I'm gonna be, you know, try to keep up and like checking for accuracy, I guess, as the movie goes along. And I think that this movie just leans a little bit more towards the fantastical. I do appreciate the existence of Iridians, like, in their design and in their concept, because like, I've said for a long time that like, if we do encounter intelligent life on some other planet, it won't even be recognizable as a life form, because humans have adapted and evolved to look the way that we do to survive in Earth's climate, right? So when we try to imagine an alien, we picture it being bipedal, and then like, oh, it's got blue skin or gray skin or green skin or something like that, and it's got black eyes, or it's got multiple eyes, or it's got this, or it's got that. That's just not how alien life would be. It would have to adapt in a completely different way, follow a whole different evolutionary branch to sustain itself on its own planet. So something like Rocky and the rest of the Iridians, that makes sense. What looks to us like just a sentient rock would make sense in their climate. I like that. I appreciate that. It's I don't know. It's something that it's just, I don't know. It's just nice to see actual scientific thought go into something like that. But it's also like I said, it does lean into a bit of the fantastical, because as far as like deep space travel, and light speed travel, stuff like that, we're still operating on a lot of theoreticals. So we get to kind of play fast and loose with how things work, how much fuel you would need to reach this distance based on a completely hypothetical fuel, because they're not using dark matter for light speed, they're using astrophage. It's all, I don't know, it feels just a little bit more make-believe than The Martian, which mileage may vary depending on what you're into. If you like the more down-to-earth, the more like grounded, realistic science that is on display in The Martian, you might not love this. This does lean a little closer to something like Interstellar, where again we were dealing with a lot of theory. We didn't even know what a black hole officially looked like by the time that movie came out, but we do now, and it turns out that hey, they got it right. So maybe in 15 years, if we get closer to light speed travel, this movie will be vindicated. Who knows? Like, the reason that I call it Hope Core, Hope Slap, Hope whatever you want to call it, is because it's like, realistically speaking, there is absolutely no chance that I know, realistically speaking, we're talking about aliens and lightspeed travel, whatever. Suspension of disbelief goes pretty far. What I'm trying to say is that the way that the story is presented, there is no realistic way for Ryan Gosling's character, Dr. Ryland Grace, to accomplish this mission and survive it, and return home, succeed, do anything. There's no way that this works out. That's why it's called Project Hail Mary, because it is such a long shot. Even assuming that the plan works, the people on Earth that were involved with this mission that sent this crew to outer space have to sit on their hands and wait for over a decade, hoping that A, this team of scientists made it there, B, they figured out what to do, C, it's actionable, and C, that the data that they sent back to Earth actually made it there, and E, that there's enough time to actually do something. You have to make so many assumptions for this to all work out, but I mean, it just does, and it feels good. The music makes it feel good, the cinematography makes it feel good. This movie actually is stunning. It looks beautiful. I hope to see it get some love in the awards season, during the award season next year. Particularly for, like, production design, visual effects, maybe even original score, stuff like that. I would love to see that. But it just makes you feel good when you're watching it. Like, I didn't think about any of the stuff that I'm talking about right now until after I had left the theater, and I had been home thinking about the movie for a while. It's like, I mean, within the context of the film, there's no way that this should have or could have possibly worked. But it does, and it did. And you know what? I'm happy about it. I like it. It makes me feel good. I like watching movies that make me feel good. I like feeling hope, feeling inspired, feeling joy when I'm done watching a movie. I watch a lot of doom and gloom because I like that stuff too. But every once in a while, you pop out a movie like this or like Superman just to feel good. It's not just to turn your brain off, popcorn flick. It's just, it just makes you feel hopeful, you know? Another thing that lets you know that this movie is almost entirely fantastical. A human being getting along with a foreigner? I'm kidding. I'm not gonna get into that. One thing that is a little weird about this movie, and it's something that I would have said about Wicked for Good if I did a review on that movie, it has a very Return of the King style ending, where there's like 5 different scenes that you think is gonna be the last scene. Like, okay, roll credits. And it's like, no, actually, we have one more thing to do. It's like, oh, okay. Alright, well, it's getting pretty late. I mean, I saw the movie at 7 o'clock. I didn't get out till almost 10. I was clock watching a little bit, not gonna lie. Not to say that I was bored, but it's just like, hey, we've been here for a while. The story has been told. It's time to move on. But there's a lot going on in the ending, and that might grate for some people. I kind of don't feel one way or the other about it. It's whatever. You can definitely feel the length of it for sure. It's not exactly a 2.5 hour movie that feels like it's over in an hour and a half. You feel every bit of how long the movie is, especially because the cast is so limited. A lot of the story is being told in flashbacks, which is nice. And we use those flashbacks to contextualize what's happening in the present. And it's a bit of a mystery going on there because Ryland Grace doesn't have too much memory of why he's on the ship, what he's supposed to do, what's going on. And so it's nice to put the puzzle together while you're watching him do the same. I completely forgot to mention that part as well. But the tricky thing is that Ryland Grace was not supposed to be on this mission, but he is now, so you're wondering why, what happened? Is he qualified for it? You'll have to find out about all of that as the film unfolds. I've yapped long enough though. What do I think about Project Hail Mary? What would I give it out of 10? I would give it a good 8. I quite liked it. Film Twitter might have very strong opinions otherwise. So my advice is if you're interested in this movie, go watch it now before the internet tells you that it's bad. Alright? But we've got some pretty big stuff coming up later this year. We've got Mario Galaxy like next week or something like that. You can expect me to talk about Mario Galaxy, especially because I did not talk about the first movie here on the channel. So I might include like a mini review for that or whatever. Not entirely sure just yet, but don't worry, I'm not gonna leave you guys hanging. We're gonna talk about Mario Galaxy. We're gonna talk about Oppenheimer. We're gonna talk about Odyssey, Spider-Man, Avengers, Dune, Supergirl, all the big stuff that's coming out this year. You'll see videos about it here on this channel. All right. If you saw Project Hail Mary, what did you think about it? What was your favorite part? Let me know in the comments what's your favorite sci-fi film. Mine is probably Terminator 2. That's another thing. Like, you get to play fast and loose with what sci-fi is. Anyway, I'll see you later.